What if most scientific studies involving location data, climate research, pollution mapping, disease tracking, are giving us confidence intervals that are completely wrong? This isn't bad science. It's a mathematical crisis hiding in plain sight. When researchers study how air quality affects health across neighborhoods, or how soil conditions affect crops across regions, they're using statistical methods that systematically fail for spatial data. The consequences: billion-dollar policy decisions based on fake certainty. Today's paper: smooth sailing, Lipschitz-Driven uncertainty, quantification for spatial association. Translation: the first method that actually works for building reliable confidence intervals when studying location-based relationships. Even when our models are wrong and our data locations aren't random. Picture this: you're studying how highway distance affects childhood asthma rates. You sample schools across a city, then predict risk for a new school location. Standard methods promise 95% confidence the asthma rate will be 8% to 12%. Here's the problem. These methods assume your data points are independent random samples, but schools cluster in neighborhoods. Pollution follows wind patterns. Economic factors create spatial patches. Location creates dependence, which is the fundamental assumption is broken. The researchers tested this. 5 standard methods across multiple data sets. Ordinary least squares, sandwich estimators, Gaussian processes, the works. Every single one failed catastrophically. Methods promising 95% coverage delivered actual coverage below 50%. Their breakthrough starts with spatial smoothness. High pollution at one corner means similar pollution next door. Soil quality changes gradually across fields. Disease risk varies smoothly across neighborhoods. They formalize this mathematically as Lipschitz continuity. The function can't change arbitrarily fast as you move through space. Think estimating temperature from scattered weather stations. You use nearby readings, weight by distance, then ask, how wrong could this possibly be, given smooth temperature changes? The method does exactly this with mathematical precision. Nearest neighbor weighting approximates responses at target locations. Then they calculate bias bounds. Using optimal transport theory, originally developed for efficiently moving goods between warehouses, this becomes a linear program accounting for spatial structure. The confidence intervals capture both estimation, uncertainty, and time bias from spatial assumptions. When noise levels are unknown, they estimate through empirical minimization over smooth functions. The results were stark. While every comparison method showed massive coverage failures, their method consistently hit nominal rates. When they promised 95% confidence, they delivered 95% coverage. The implications are terrifying. Environmental regulations based on pollution health studies, urban planning from transportation research, agricultural policy from soil yield relationships. We're making trillion-dollar decisions on systematically overconfident statistics. Studies claiming highways increase asthma risk 10% to 20% with 95% confidence using standard methods. Those intervals systematically understate uncertainty. Published findings across environmental science, epidemiology, economics, urban planning, they may all be overconfident. This exposes something fundamental: space breaks statistics. The independence assumptions underlying most methods simply don't hold when location matters. We need fundamentally different approaches. The mathematical insight is profound. Spatial inference is actually a transport problem. Moving from observed locations to target locations is like optimally transporting probability mass across space. And transport theory provides tools for bounding prediction error. The method requires assumptions. You specify how smooth relationships are, assume Gaussian noise. But unlike existing approaches, it doesn't require correct models or extensive data overlap between training and target locations. Here's my question. In studies affecting public policy, pollution regulations, disease prevention, agricultural planning, would you rather have narrow intervals giving false certainty, or appropriately wider intervals capturing the true uncertainty of spatial prediction? Because if this paper is right, we've been systematically overconfident about spatial relationships. The policy stakes couldn't be higher. This video was generated using AI summarization of the source paper. The analysis and commentary represent an AI's inference from the study, not the author's own conclusions or intentions.